Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going way beyond just talking about office perks. We're actually going to break down the official blueprint for building a workplace culture that makes people healthier and boosts the company's performance.
So let's just kick things off with a pretty big question, right? What if your company's culture wasn't just, something you deal with at work? What if it was actively making your employees healthier and, at the same time, boosting your bottom line? Seriously, what if it could become your single greatest asset?
To figure that out, we're going to lean on the experts. We're looking at the framework from WELCOA. That's the Wellness Council of America. And these folks have spent over 30 years perfecting a system that does exactly this, turning regular companies into super healthy, high-performing workplaces.
All right, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll tackle the main challenge. Then, we'll walk through their proven roadmap, the foundation, the strategy, the action, and of course, the results. Let's get into it.
All right, first up, the Wellness Challenge. So where do so many companies get this wrong? Well, the very first step is just admitting that a lot of the traditional approaches, they just fall into a really common trap.
You've probably seen this, right? Companies roll out all sorts of wellness activities. Maybe a fitness challenge here, a nutrition newsletter there. But what happens? They end up becoming this program of the month thing. It's just a scattered approach that honestly doesn't even move the needle on the big stuff, like soaring healthcare costs or actual productivity.
And that's exactly where WELCOA's roadmap comes in. It gives you a clear path forward. This is a huge strategic shift, you guys. It's about stopping those, random acts of wellness and starting to build a real system that actually delivers measurable results.
So what they've done is they've boiled it all down into these 7 core benchmarks. And look, this isn't a buffet where you can pick and choose. No, this is a complete, step-by-step blueprint for building that culture of health. So let's start right at the bottom with the foundation.
Okay, so the foundation is all about leadership and teamwork. And this is so crucial. Everything, and I mean everything, starts with people. Before you even think about buying a fancy app or some new tool, you've got to build this on a solid foundation of real commitment and teamwork. And when we say foundation, we mean it has to start at the very, very top. Benchmark number 1 is all about getting genuine, visible support from your senior leadership. I'm talking about the CEO. When they're championing this stuff, not just with words, but with resources and by their own example, everyone in the company gets the message loud and clear, this is a priority. And if you need to convince them, here's the business case. Get this. For a pretty small investment, maybe $100 to $150 per employee, the studies show a potential return of anywhere from $3 to, wait for it, $16 for every single dollar you spend. That's not a cost, folks. That is a massive, high-return investment.
Okay, so once you have that leadership buy-in, you build on it with benchmark number 2, creating a cohesive wellness team. And this is key. You can't just dump this on one person's desk. It's not going to work. You need a dedicated, diverse team to make sure this initiative gets woven right into the company's DNA, instead of just being, some side project in HR.
All right, so you've got the right people on board. The next phase is all about strategy. It's about being smart. This is the part where you stop guessing what your employees need and you start knowing exactly where you should be putting your time and money. So benchmark number 3 is all about data. But we're not just talking about one kind of data. No, the framework uses 4 different categories. You're looking at organizational stuff like health claims, but also employee health data from screenings, the physical environment, like what's in the cafeteria, and even productivity metrics like absenteeism. When you put it all together, you get this incredible 360-degree picture of what's really going on before you make a single move. And all of that rich data feeds directly into benchmark number 4, creating a detailed annual operating plan. This thing becomes your North Star for the year. It's what gets everybody on the same page, moving in the same direction, and it gives your team that clear ownership they need to actually get things done. Okay, so the foundation is laid, the strategy is set. Now it's time for action. This is where the rubber really meets the road, where your big plan starts to become a real, tangible part of every single employee's day-to-day experience. Benchmark number 5 is all about choosing the right interventions. This means it's time to completely ditch that scattered program of the month idea. Instead, you're using a focused, results-oriented strategy that goes right after the actual needs you uncovered back in that data phase. And the interventions you pick, they're not random. They are a direct response to your data. So maybe your plan focuses on stress management, or maybe it's financial wellness, or nutrition. The point is, it's targeted to what is most important to your specific group of employees. And this next part, benchmark number 6, is so important. It recognizes that, hey, just offering a class isn't enough.
You have to create an environment that actually supports the changes you want to see. Think about it. If you're teaching a class on nutrition, but the cafeteria only has fried food, what message are you sending? Your physical space has to make the healthy choice the easy choice. It's that simple.
And finally, we get to the payoff, the results. This is how you figure out what actually worked, prove the value of everything you've done, and, just as importantly, figure out how to make the program even better next year.
And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. Benchmark number 7, evaluation. You can honestly think of this as the linchpin, right? It's the piece that holds all the other 6 benchmarks together and keeps them accountable. It's how you prove what's working and, crucially, how you go back to that leadership team we started with and justify the investment.
Now, this evaluation can track all sorts of things, from basic stuff like participation rates to how satisfied employees are. And that's all good, but really, the gold standard, the holy grail, is showing a positive return on investment. Proving, with cold, hard numbers, that investing in your people's health is one of the smartest business decisions you can possibly make.
So there you have it. By following this 7-part blueprint, literally any organization can systematically move past just doing random activities and start building a real, genuine culture of health that benefits absolutely everyone. So now that you've seen the whole plan, the question is, what's the very first brick you're going to lay?